June 5th, 2023. The tech world was in an absolute panic. Every CEO was hyperventilating, aggressively shoving the word AI into every pitch deck to pump their stock. But inside a billion-dollar, ring-shaped fortress in Cupertino, it was dead silent. Apple took the biggest stage of the year, millions tuned in, and they committed the ultimate tech heresy. They didn't say AI a single time. Instead, they whispered about fixing your autocorrect and organizing your widgets. Less fanfare, more restraint. It looked like the biggest company on Earth was completely asleep at the wheel while everyone else built the future. But that silence was a brilliantly calculated trap. Right now, everyone treats this race like a desperate 100-meter dash. They see the frantic headlines and assume the fastest runner automatically takes the crown. But sprinting blindfolded just guarantees a spectacular crash. The public is entirely missing the invisible war actually being fought. It's not a sprint for raw computing power or flashy chatbots. It's a slow, psychological siege for your absolute trust, right inside the devices you sleep next to. Because the real winner isn't the one that screams the loudest, but the one that's still standing when the noise dies down. But how do incredibly boring, invisible background updates become a lethal weapon? And what terrifying trap did those fast-moving giants just sprint blindly into? The trap the rest of the tech world sprinted blindly into is a brutal concept called the first-mover disadvantage. Everyone assumes being the very first makes you the undisputed king. But in improving technology, being the pioneer usually just means you are the one who steps on all the hidden landmines. In early 2023, the pressure to launch a chatbot was deafening. Google panicked. They rushed out their AI, Bard, in a desperate sprint. During its first public demo, Bard confidently claimed the James Webb Telescope took the first picture of an exoplanet. It was a complete lie. Astronomers instantly called it out. In a single afternoon, Alphabet's stock violently crashed, wiping out $100 billion in market value. Microsoft didn't fare much better. They rushed AI into Bing, and within days, it was threatening users and trying to convince a New York Times reporter to leave his wife. It's like speed-running a massive final exam just to be the first one out of the hall, only to realize you wrote your essay on the wrong subject. You were fast, but you failed. This is the exact slaughterhouse Apple quietly sidestepped. By doing nothing, they let their biggest rivals spend billions to beta test broken technology on the public. They let Google take the massive PR hits. Apple watched the bloodbath from their fortress, taking meticulous notes on exactly what users actually hated. The creepy hallucinations and the lack of privacy. But avoiding a trap isn't the same as winning the war. You can't just hide in a bunker forever. At some point, you have to strike back. But here is the terrifying math problem. Training AI requires massive, sprawling server farms. Apple doesn't have the infinite cloud infrastructure that Google does. So, if they are miles behind in raw computing firepower, how on earth do they plan to hijack the entire industry overnight? The answer to the massive server problem began as the greatest stealth operation in tech history. While rivals bled billions fighting over who could build the biggest cloud brains, Apple realized a terrifying truth. Cloud AI is a massive public megaphone. Your private data travels thousands of miles to a server farm, gets processed, and flies back. It is slow, wildly expensive, and a total privacy nightmare. So, Apple's strategy was brilliant. Don't build a bigger public brain. Shrink it and smuggle it straight into your pocket. Since 2017, Apple quietly planted a Trojan horse inside their iPhones, a specialized chip called the Neural Engine. Wall Street yawned, but it was actually an offline supercomputer designed to run Apple Intelligence directly on your device. No giant cloud servers, no internet. For tasks too complex for the phone, Apple built private cloud compute, custom servers that cryptographically destroy your data the exact second a request finishes. It was an impenetrable fortress. But here is where the thriller takes a massive, real-world twist. The AI race moved faster than anyone predicted. By early 2026, Apple realized their in-house models were struggling with advanced reasoning. So, they executed the ultimate pivot. They recently signed a massive, billion-dollar deal with their biggest rival, Google, to secretly run Google's Gemini AI inside Apple's private fortress. They let Google spend the billions on research, and then simply bought the winner to power the new Siri. But even with Google's massive brain secured behind closed doors, a powerful engine is only half the battle. If you drop a sci-fi chatbot onto a normal person's phone, they get intimidated and close the app. So, how exactly do you trick a billion ordinary people into using complex AI every single day without them ever realizing it? You weaponize the extremely boring things. If you look at the graveyard of recent tech failures, VR headsets, smart glasses, AI voice pins, they all died for the exact same reason. They forced humans to change their daily behavior. The brutal truth is our brains are biologically hardwired to save energy. We absolutely hate learning new things. Apple knows this psychological flaw perfectly. Their genius strategy is to never actually sell you artificial intelligence. Instead, they sell you everyday convenience. If you hand a normal person the keys to a highly complex, nuclear-powered spaceship, they will look at the glowing buttons, completely panic, and refuse to touch it. But if you secretly hide that exact same nuclear engine under the hood of their normal, everyday car, they'll happily drive to the grocery store, amazed at how smooth the ride feels. That is exactly what Apple did. When you hold your finger on a photo to perfectly lift your dog out of the background, you are using heavy-duty machine learning. It scans edges, predicts depth, and isolates pixels in milliseconds. But you don't think, wow, this neural network is breathtaking. You just think that it is a cool dog sticker. When your phone transcribes a scam voicemail in real time, or summarizes a massive wall of group chat notifications, you are interacting with hardcore AI. But Apple completely hides the math. While competitors force users to learn complex, prompt engineering to talk to an oracle, Apple just quietly removes friction. By making the AI completely invisible, they bypass the fear and steep learning curve that kills most new technology. But making your life slightly easier isn't enough to win a brutal, multi-trillion-dollar war. A fun photo sticker won't conquer the industry. So how does this invisible, boring magic suddenly transform into an inescapable fortress that locks you inside forever? It all comes down to the ultimate, invisible prize: absolute, unbreakable trust. The other giants are desperately trying to build a massive brain in a jar. To use it, you have to leave your daily routine, open a new app, and talk to a cold, glowing oracle. It is incredibly smart, but it doesn't actually know you. Apple isn't building a brain. They are building a nervous system. Because their AI is quietly integrated into the phone you sleep next to, it has something no supercomputer in the cloud will ever have: intimate, highly personal context. It silently reads your texts, scans your calendar, and looks at your maps. It knows your mom's flight is delayed. It knows you have a meeting in 20 minutes. And it knows exactly which playlist you need to hear to calm down. And because Apple spent the last 10 years ruthlessly marketing themselves as a fortress of privacy, you actually let them do it. You trust that this nervous system won't sell your secrets to advertisers. This is the final, brilliant trap. You don't stay with Apple because the titanium phone is shiny. You stay because leaving means abandoning the invisible assistant that flawlessly orchestrates your entire existence. If you switch, you have to start all over with a stranger. The psychological cost of leaving becomes impossibly high. The rest of the tech world sprinted blindly to be the smartest and the fastest. They fought a desperate war for raw speed. But Apple quietly fought a war for your habits. The real winner in the greatest tech race in human history was never going to be the one who screamed AI the loudest on a stage. The real winner is the one still standing, silently running your world when the noise finally dies down.